Welcome to the winning bid, automating the RFP process. Hello, everybody. Today, my guest is Paul van Staveren. Paul has been our guest in the previous episode, and there he talked about his experiences in various functions and roles in regards to the tendering process. Yeah. However, today we will dive into Paul's experiences with the Sequesto tool. So, Paul, tell us a bit. How did you come in touch with Sequesto?
Well, in all my jobs, I'm always trying to do the job, hit the targets and so on, as you are supposed to in a commercial job, but also try to improve every day, get better and better and better. And the tendering process, especially when you're not the biggest company, is very difficult because it's one day you have 3 tenders at the same time, then there's nothing, and you have another time a lot of tenders at the same time. You're very limited in your resources. So in trying to improve bid management and become more efficient and with a higher quality, we looked at quite some systems. And of course, there are some market leader systems in the US, but they are English only. So they do 2 things which they do not do, which I want to have. One is I want to work in Dutch, but also I want to combine languages. So if I have a company with subsidiaries in multiple countries, one day I have to answer in German, next in Italian, the other day, I don't care, in Albanian. And that's what they don't do. So they, although they have, of course, the whole marketing machines behind them and so on, they didn't do the trick for us. So then we started focusing on other providers of this tooling and started talking with Sequesto.
Right. And Sequesto obviously is a European tool.
Yep.
Which is multilingual.
Yep.
By design.
And for me as a Dutch person, I can speak Dutch to them.
That's another advantage.
That's a pro.
Exactly. Now, apart from the multilingual aspect, what else did Sequesto bring?
Well, what I really like is that it is made by people who did this job for many, many years. So first you start with, hey, I have this tender document, and does it comply with all my criteria? For instance, if you don't accept the liability above 5 million, or you don't want to take over third-party contracts, or you don't want to do people transfer, or whatever other criterion, you can list these criteria, and you easily put in the documents and say to Sequesto, please check for these criteria. And it will tell you whether the criteria are found or not, and where they are in the documents. So that's the first very good step, and it saves days of reading, especially when it's a larger tender. It saves days of reading. So that's one, and you make sure that everything is hit. And with a human doing this, sometimes
there are gaps.
We get tired, or we think, hey, this is probably not in this document, so I'm going to skip it, whatever. When I normally checked an RFP or European tender for this, I would read the master agreement, the legal part, and I read the first introduction document and the other documents. Maybe not. So that's the first big thing that really is going to help us. The second one is that you can put the questions of a European tender or an RFP, which typically are 100 or more. You can put them in the tool, and the tool will search your whole database for answers, and it will come up with answer 1, hey, this is an 80% match with what they're asking, or this one is 60% or 20%. You get these answers to see, and that's where your magic as a person comes in. You say, hey, this 80% answer is good, and this 20% answer, hey, this has some ingredients I really like as well. And then you say to the tool, please combine these 2. And let's say the one is in Dutch, the other is in English. Combine these 2, make it a formal writing style, business style in Italian, please. Bam, and you have it. So there you can save tremendous time in the answering. another thing is that you always get very complex Excel sheets where you have to fill in. That's something that Questionnaires can also do for you. And maybe the most important thing is that in the tool, there's this big database. And in this big database, there's everything you have, documents. So where other large language models, they will search the whole internet. Oh, that's fine, but has nothing to do with you. So there is this whole database. And in this database, there are all the documents you think are relevant. So that can be reference cases, other tenders you handed in previously, your service descriptions, legal stuff, environmental documents, transition documents on people transfer, whatever you can think of, you can put them in this database. You can tag these documents so someone is owning this document, and you can, for instance, say, hey, this document has to be updated every 3 months. So where the problem now is that when you get a document, you have no clue whether this is a good one and if it's up to date, and if you're lucky, there's a date on it, but oftentimes there's not. So you have no clue if it is still true. So both on the front end of the tool, you can organize the whole process and give people tasks in who is answering what. And on the back end, you can do the same. So you can make sure that this database is good and gets better every day. Then if you have an answer, and you say, well, this answer, it's not the best answer. What you can do is you can put in extra text yourself, and you can add this text to the database. So the database will be better again. But you also can do is say, hey, for instance, the question is, give your vision on Microsoft workspaces, whatever. Now you have, of course, as a Microsoft partner, you'll have stuff in your database. What you also can do is say, please check Microsoft.com for additional information.
Right.
And it will just find this additional information for you. So there you can also use external sources, or for instance, if you work with a partner who does stuff for you, you can say, also look at the internet page or whatever of this partner. So I think these are the main
right. I hear you
capabilities.
say 3 things basically. The first is that there is now suddenly ownership of knowledge.
Yep.
Which was a key challenge and a key complaint in the old school way of doing things.
Yep.
There was no ownership. The knowledge was spread over many people, was stored all over the place.
Yep.
If you were lucky, it was on a shared disk. If you're unlucky, it was somebody's PC.
Yeah, or in someone's head.
Or in somebody's head, even worse.
Yep,
right?
Sure.
And the second thing is there's constant improvement.
Yep.
Because you have a mechanism in place to ensure that the data is constantly updated, always maintained, time-stamped, date-stamped.
Yeah,
and you know what the status of that data is.
Yeah, and I think this is really, we talked about it in the first episode as well, or the other episode. That's really important, because otherwise, if you don't have these capabilities surrounding your database, you will always have a lot of manual work keeping this database up to date, and you have no clue whether it is.
Well, you couldn't do it even. There's no way of doing it.
No, and now you can do this. You can sort of start with the tool right away. And first, for instance, you just put in the last 20 RFPs you answered. And then you start adding your service descriptions, and you see, hey, these service descriptions aren't up to par. Okay, tell people, hey, your service descriptions need to get better for whatever reason. And you can add them. And hey, we don't have something standard for legal. Okay, talk to legal. Say, hey, we want a standard
Fill
clause,
the gaps.
standard clause for indexing, for liability, for whatever. So you can start small and have benefits right away, and then grow and grow and grow, where you save a lot of time and improve the quality. And also, I think very important that at the moment there's a lot of pressure on the job market. So if you are a consultant or someone else involved in tenders? Where do you want to work? Where all the stupid work is done for you? Or where you still the person on the phone all day calling colleagues? Hey, did you write something about this? Can I have this document? Oh, I forgot it.
It's much more satisfying also.
Yeah, so you can really let people do what they're good at. And I also think that using this tooling will give a very positive swing to job satisfaction. So, and if I'm a consultant, where do I want to work? Where I can do smart work.
It's in an organization where you can work smartly.
Yeah, so you can really position your commercial organization in a very positive way with people applying for a job with you.
Right. Now, I said that I heard 3 things, and the third thing I didn't mention. It's basically the collaborative effect.
Yeah, sure.
Aspect, because with this tool, for the first time, you have actually an environment that encourages people to work together. So can you elaborate a bit on that? How does it improve this compared to the old school of working, where you had issues with coherence, consistency, same style of writing, having the same detail of information? How does this change the whole thing?
In a number of ways. First, the way we collaborate today is that we have tooling to collaborate with, are the documents there or not? And what's the quality of these documents? And there's always the one tool is very good at collaborating, and the other tool is very good at maintaining the documents. But being intelligent at all of it, that's difficult. And I think now with Microsoft Copilot coming up, that's really going to help. But Copilot is going to be searching in the database of the world, not in your own.
Not in your own database.
No. So this is going to help. You can really collaborate together better than you can now, with a higher quality of the starting documents you work with. And you're adding, of course, the AI, where, for instance, the different writing styles, you can just say to Sequesto, if your colleague has made a perfect answer, but too long, too short, not in a business writing style, you can say, hey, do this in the business writing style, as you did all the other answers.
Yeah, so the tone of voice is very important.
The tone of voice, so you can really define the tone of voice. And for instance, when you're writing for an education customer, education customers, they don't have customers, they have students. So you can also say, hey, this is for education. So make sure that you talk about students and not about or patients in a hospital or whatever. So you don't have to really ask that from the people anymore. They can really much more stay with their own way of writing, and you just tell the tool to make it in all in one.
Right. Have you seen improvements in the go, no-go decision-making process?
Yes, I have. Where normally you spend a lot of time reading, you can spend this time now discussing whether we're going to do this or not. And oftentimes you have several people reading documents, having all different interpretations, or someone missed something and the other didn't. And now it's just, you have your criteria and it's either in there or not.
Right.
So
it's very binary.
It's very binary. And then you'll have a good discussion, and you can say, hey, well, we have, for instance, this customer, they want indirect liability and 20 million. And we only want direct liability and 2.5 million. Okay, that's something we're gonna ask a question about.
Yeah.
To our customer. And another one, they say, well, yes, it's over our criteria, but just a little bit. We'll accept this one. So you can really have a criterion by criterion discussion with each other and say, okay, well, we're going to do this or we don't. Or we need to have this feedback on the questions we ask. Feedback is this. Yes, we'll do it. If it's that, we'll don't.
Okay. Well, this is very insightful. And I think so far it seems the feedback has been quite positive. Now, another topic is you've been working for so many years with very large organizations.
Yep.
And recently you started your own business.
in the process.
In the process. I think your ambition is to create a consultancy business that is going to bring true innovation in sales consultancy.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate a bit more on that? How do you see things?
Yeah, sure. Well, what I see is that especially in customers, for companies with larger customers, they're struggling in getting to use tooling, really evolving the way they do the business. And it's still 80% of the business still goes to the account manager. And they're driving in their cars to customers. And yes, we can do video calls now and so, but in the end, it's still quite the same. Of which you can say, well, big deal. It's not that important because everyone is still doing it this way. Sure. But having said this, combined with the fact that the products and services you sell become more and more commodity. We see that, especially in IT. A workspace from Microsoft is a workspace from Microsoft. It's not. It's more and more difficult to differentiate on that. So make sure you differentiate on the way of working. For instance, help customers to put in their own orders.
Right.
Now it's. I always say that, and people who know me, they will probably laugh. It's very funny because if you go to Asia for a month, it will take you an evening to get your flights, your accommodation, your excursions, your transport over there. You'll do it in a night, right? And if you want to have a project manager for 20 hours from a IT company, you call the account manager. And this account manager calls an internal department. They will call planning, and then they call back and they say, okay, yes or no.
Right.
That's weird.
That's a very different approach.
Yeah, that's weird. And this is just an example. And also the sequestro part. So why are we still sweating on stuff we should not be sweating on anymore? And so there's just examples, but I think that so much progress can be made in the way you do commerce, and it will really help you in ensuring your competitive position towards your competitors, but also as a employer. People want to work for companies who have cutting edge tools and really, really implement them well, because we all know that having the tools by themselves, that won't do anything for you. No, make sure that they are implemented and that they're really embedded in your organization, in your way of working. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think there's so much to do, and I really have a passion for doing that and helping. And well, I've done enough wrong to maybe know how you can do it right. So I think that's really where we should be going as commercial organizations.
I once heard a very high executive complain about this. He said, "Look at our tools at home. IT we have the latest iPhone or Android. We have a smart watch. We have a modern laptop, which is maybe 2-3 years old. We have a car with electronics that are high tech and very new. But when I look into my company, I see things that software that is 10 years old, 15 years old, and the whole way of working is still ancient.
Yep.
And that frustrates people because they know that things can be much better. UX can be much better. Things are integrated. My phone syncs with my speakers and with my car and with my laptop, and things are synced in the cloud. But when I come in the office, I face all these tedious old processes. Things don't match, don't collaborate, and so on. So that is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And yet another example, if you look at visiting your customer, right? Yeah, you are new in a company, new account manager, and you go to your customer for the first time. Then you want to know stuff about your customer. And you want to know contact persons and stuff about them. You want to know what's in the pipeline, funnel-wise. You want to know marketing-wise, which campaigns did they participate in, which events did they participate in. You want to know if they're paying their bills. You want to know how the projects are going. You want to know how your services are doing. Do we have a lot of incidents or not? And if you want to know that, you're probably calling people up for hours to get this information, and then you don't know what the quality of this information is. So and that's where you can make large steps to start collecting this information. And especially if you are preparing for the AI era, data is going to be very important. But if you ask a company, hey, who is responsible for data in this company? Yes, of course, the financial department, they do all the financial data, but the AI data we need now is data about your hobbies and about the goals of your customers and all this kind of data. So who's responsible for that?
Right.
And do we have it?
I think probably not. This
No.
is not all managed, and this is not always known. And also, don't forget, there are lots of secrets inside companies, especially when they're large. People are not always getting a clear view and overview.
No, but we need the chief data officer. And yes, with the big banks, they probably have one. But I haven't seen a lot of those people yet in companies I walked around.
Yes.
So
CDOs aren't commonplace.
No, and the CDOs we have is chief digital officer, not chief data officer.
Right.
So we really need to have some people being responsible for the data in a company and the quality of it. And then you can start building on top of that with your AI tooling and whatever you can come up with.
True. So how do you wish to approach this new venture in your consultancy?
Well, that's the question I've been waiting for. It's quite a difficult one for me to answer because I'm still exploring at the moment what I want to do. But I think it all starts with talking about the business you're in. Hey, how are you doing? What's going well? What's going wrong? Where do you think that these problems originate? Where do you want to go? Need to have these kind of talks in perspective of what's happening in your market, what's the competition doing, but also what are all the new possibilities of AIs and other tooling. Because we're talking a lot about AI, but in automation, there's a lot to be gained as well. I think we're not even using CRM to the max.
Oh yes, I agree.
I haven't seen an account plan automated yet in a CRM yet, and probably companies have it, but I haven't seen it yet. So, and that's just a simple example. So, so together, looking, hey, where are you? Where do you want to go? And in which way? And because the execution part, that's the tricky part. The dot on the horizon is difficult, but how to get there is a lot more difficult. So working on that together with companies and just start with having these conversations. And I am having these conversations at the moment already. It's very for both the company and myself. You learn a lot from each other, and from there you can say, okay, hey, we have this plan already in place because there's no one without a plan, of course. But is it the right plan?
Right.
And how is it going to help us?
Yeah.
And did we look at tooling, or did we
processes? Approaches?
Yeah, or what I see now is, for instance, we're going to use ChatGPT because it's there. But I think no. First, you want to have something, a challenge or a problem or something you want to solve, and then this might be the answer. But starting with the answer, that's
that's
why. But that's, of course, that's now everyone is very enthusiastic about it. But why? It has to contribute to your goals,
of course,
as a company. And making summaries of emails, that's very nice, but it's not going to win the world for you, I guess.
I heard you say that you are going to write a series of blog posts.
Yep.
In which you will probably write about your experiences. In a very thematic manner.
Yep.
Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, I'm working on that at the moment, and I'm calling them prikkels in Dutch. Have to find a good English word for that, but it's going to be something. Well, I think teaser would be a good word. So I want to sort of challenge myself by writing it and the audience that reading it. And one of the titles, for instance, is that commerce is still hasn't changed a lot since the late 50s.
Mhm.
That's of course quite a bold statement. And in this article, I'll be sort of investigating whether this is true or not. And of course, it's not altogether true, but it's also not entirely wrong as well. So that's the way I'm trying to sort of stimulate thinking about the maturity of your company. Do I develop? What's going to AI? Why? Or I've also have one now written, and it's called Stop Innovation. And of course, you don't have to stop. You shouldn't stop innovating your commercial department, but oftentimes we neglect having a strong fundament on which we build.
Mhm.
And as long as we don't have the fundament right, then innovation is gonna sink. It's like a house without
Right. Yeah.
fundament. It's not gonna work. So yes, innovate, of course,
But in the right manner.
but in the right manner and in the right speed, and make sure that this fundament, which to a lot of people is not sexy, we all want to work on new stuff, but without it,
Mhm. Well, there are various ways of innovation, of course.
Sure.
There's the big breakthroughs, and then there's all small incremental improvements and innovations.
and
And you need both.
and if you talk about innovation in commerce, there's always an element of human behavior that's important in adapting these new tools. And
Mhm.
of course, we know all the stories about perfect tools and no one using them. So this adoption of people is very important. So that makes it very important to have this good fundament there, and people really understanding, okay, this is innovation. Why are we doing this? How is this going to help me? And then they will work on it. And I think one of the biggest examples is the CRM system. I still have to find the first account manager. Who's really happy with CRM.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, most of them they think they do this for the management. So you really need to make sure these tools are working for the people who primarily use them.
Very often it is a reporting tool for management, and not used in the true manner for managing your customers.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. What I also see is you mentioned people and culture and resistance to change. A very common thing why innovation fails is because of fear.
Yeah.
Fear of cannibalism can be even at corporate level. We all know the example of Kodak, for example. Kodak went bust. They invented the digital camera, but they were afraid of it at the same time because it was going to cannibalize their existing very highly profitable business of film.
Yeah.
And developing film, making film. And what happened is the digital camera took off, completely surpassed the old traditional way, the market, and they went bust. It took them with them in their grave.
Yep.
And this is a very nice example. They could have cherished their own innovation and their own invention, basically, but they were too much afraid. And I think you see this also in terms of changing processes, changing the way people operate. People sometimes stick with what they know and don't even dare to make this step. How would you address that? How would you make people ready to adopt change?
Well, it starts by showing your own vulnerability as a leader. So tell people if you don't know something. Tell some people, hey, we tried this and we failed. Maybe even celebrate the failures you have. I think at Google or some of they have sort of celebration partners of everything that went wrong. Of course, to learn from it. So really creating this atmosphere of experimentation, that's really important. And of course, this is sort of really fully different from how companies look at doing business, because then we want to control everything and want to report and KPIs and blah, 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 blah. And that's really not helping being innovative, because then you want to do experiments, and experiments, well, oftentimes they go wrong. And I think what's important there is that you make sure that everyone has a sort of feel where we should be going as a company, and allow for small experiments. Because if a small experiment goes wrong, well, that's too bad. But it's not like 12 months of work and a whole lot of money. But with these small experiments, you can you will find out what's working and what's not. Also, people will become confident. Hey, I'm allowed to do an experiment here on the Friday afternoon, and when it goes wrong, we'll sit down to see, hey, what have we learned, rather than being punished. So creating this culture of allowing stuff to go wrong in a sort of controlled way, I think that's very important. And if you as a management or executive team only look at the KPIs of this month, and punish everyone who didn't hit his KPIs, that's sort of counterproductive. So I think that's very important, to get this cultural part in, and
that's part of the human learning process, I think.
It is.
Taking a leap forward in the future, imagine 10 years from now, how would you picture sales teams to operate?
I hope the sales teams by then will be in a situation where they can do what they're supposed to do. And that's working on strategic level with their customers and really driving sales, rather than doing all the handiwork within sales. But also a very big chunk of every account manager's job at the moment is the so-called non-sales tasks. Chasing invoices, projects that are suffering from all sorts of incidents or trouble. So get rid of these non-sales tasks, make sure that the work they do is as efficient as possible. And then the strategic part of the job, make sure that is as data-driven as possible.
Right. And I believe there's still an obvious gap. What is missing is also sales opportunity discovery.
Sure.
I just call it that way. Right now, you depend on RFPs to be published. You see them. Very often, there might be a need, a very obvious need, an opportunity, but it's invisible.
Yep.
It's only visible maybe to a selected number of suppliers. However, you might also be interested. Sometimes a customer talks to existing suppliers, proposes something, but maybe you could discover indications that there is a need for some new supplier.
Yeah, you already see this in the consumer market, and we are used to working with a big funnel of people who downloaded the white paper and then gradually working towards this one contract or one new customer. And what you want is the front side of your funnel to be very small with a very high win rate. So you have to be very specific. Who am I targeting my message? And you have to sort of be quite sure that this message will land with the people you send it to. And now we just, we're constantly sending messages to the whole world.
Exactly. I think the point here, you said data-driven.
Yep.
And imagine this, where you could get hold of various sources of information. For example, take a elevator in American English, and you could get hold of the information, how often it has been breaking down, how often there has been a technical maintenance or repairs. And if you analyze that information, you would get hold of a pattern. And maybe at one point in time, you know that the repair costs will be higher than buying it new.
Yeah.
That is the ideal sales opportunity, to sell a new elevator to somebody. And this could apply to many areas where if you get hold of certain pieces of information, combine that with what you know about the customer, your chances of conversion will be much higher.
Yeah.
Right. And I believe very much that this will be driving sales in the future.
Sure. And as another example, for instance, matching a salesperson to a customer, now we say, well, someone is free, go. What if you know your main contact person, you know this person, he loves football, he has small children, blah, 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 and match the account manager who also loves football and is also in the same phase of his life. So the match can also be made better. I think also there's a lot to be won. And this tooling, it's sort of, it's already there, but we're not using it.
The thing is, the data is very dispersed. It's in very formats. I think AI can definitely help.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be enriched also with more stringent data. So you have both worlds.
Yeah, sure.
And I do see indeed, as you pictured it, a future where various tools will be used, an ecosystem. And I think the world will look very differently for sales teams in 10 years from now.
For sure.
I think this was very insightful. Thank you very much, Paul. So we heard about your experience with Sequesto, already driving things forward in a way that hasn't happened in the last 20 years.
Yep.
We've heard about your plans to do a new way of consultancy for sales teams, changing the way teams will be organized in the next decennia, probably.
Yeah.
And we look very much forward to all the blog posts that you will be publishing shortly, I guess.
Yeah, still some blood, sweat, and tears to go in there, but they will arrive shortly.
All right.
For sure.
Thank you very much, Paul, for your time. Too. I would like to ask our listeners to subscribe, give some feedback, and obviously get in touch with us if there is any interest to find out more about Sequesto and about the RFP process in general.
Yep.
Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us on The Winning Bid, Mastering the RFP Process.